What do we have from our online family from SMC, and mashallah all their posts and all the beautiful artworks that are being put out. Alhamdulillah, Allah dress everyone, bless everyone and forgive me, and that increase our love for Ahlul Bayt and increase our love for the holy companions, and then to truly ponder how to enter into Allah's Divinely Presence. That there is a secret doorway, if you take that doorway your entire existence will change. And the material world is destructed by forms and structures, and Allah doesn't reside within forms and structures but resides within what He has created, inshaAllah.
As-salamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, Shaykh.
Wa alaykum salam wa rahmatullah.
Shaykh, 2 years ago I prayed and asked Allah for guidance, and that night you were in my YouTube queue. I was not a Muslim and wasn't searching for Islamic videos, but 2 weeks later I made my shahada, mashallah. May Allah Almighty reward you for calling me to Islam and tariqah.
Allah bless you, alhamdulillah. Allah's immense ni'mat that the one sending, one speaking from the same source, inshaAllah. Allah inspire everybody to meet at that signal, to receive the necessary information and guidance. So alhamdulillah, Allah is great. And this is His love for Sayyidina Muhammad and to give to the nation of Prophet, the nation whom have accepted their da'wah and the nation whom not yet has heard the message of that da'wah and that reality, inshaAllah. Give us all strength to spread the word with good character and good actions, inshaAllah.
As-salamu alaykum Sayyidi.
Wa alaykum salam wa rahmatullah.
So that you have given talks previously of how certain professions can attract certain energies. You discussed multiple professions, the energies they can attract and how to manage ourselves. What are your thoughts about pilots whom spend so much time at high altitudes in the atmosphere? I ask from a personal point of view. I have observed many pilots have a certain personality type they develop over time, not high frequency, also multiple personalities.
Yeah, that everybody has characteristics. This may pick up the sound. And based on their professions and based. As-salamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Shaykh Nurjan. Thank you for watching the video that you're watching. Inshallah, if you're happy with the content and happy with these programs, please support the button below, the programs that we have for our orphanage repairs, our water well, Give the Gift of Life, our mobile food vans. We have now 5 vans: Vancouver, Chicago, Los Angeles, Pakistan. There's many programs that reach thousands of people and rescue foods and give those supplies to people in need. Your support is greatly appreciated. Also, be so kind as to leave loving comments and please share the stream. Every bit counts. As-salamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Based on their desires, so there's no sort of cookie cutter explanation, but they spent a lot of time in the army because you don't get the right to fly without putting in thousands of hours of flight time. So very difficult to take a course and become a pilot. It has to do with the time in which they're exposed within the military and what that exposure was that only they know, and the effect that it has upon their soul and their reality. So especially within the last 30 years of non-stop warfare, all of them are coming out with military backgrounds and have had difficult experiences. Whether people believe or not, everything affects the soul. So to what effect it affected and to what are they carrying of difficulties, only they know and Allah knows. So it's not to me to speak to that effect, but Allah will question you if you harm His creatures. If you see a dog and you say, I'm going to kick this dog, for what reason? There is no reason, you can't give a reason to harm a creature. And you go about your life, Allah will hold you to account for that. So if this is a dog that Allah is going to hold you to account for, then everything we do has a tremendous accounting. Now whether you see who you kicked and you don't see who you kicked, you still kicked and you're accountable for that. So Allah holds them to account. The weight of that account is not easy on people, because you see people whom have no difficulty and they can't take the dunya, they're breaking and just not handling the energies. But those whom have an account, whether they believe or not doesn't matter, they're responsible. So they know what we're talking about and to the numbers in which we're talking about. You know, you kick one dog, imagine if you kick 10,000 dogs in one shot or 2,000 dogs in one shot. Heavy, very heavy. And this life is not a video game that you just turn it off and go to sleep. There's consequences for your actions, and those consequences are eternal upon the soul, eternal upon the soul. And Allah doesn't accept excuses, they made me do it. There is no making anyone to do anything, just say no. So those are heavy things, and this is a heavy and dark world right now. And many people collapse by the weight of these actions and the weight of what they've exposed themselves to. We pray that Allah save us from these difficulties and the torment of the grave, inshaAllah.
As-salamu alaykum Sayyidi.
Wa alaykum salam wa rahmatullah.
See, the secret door you speak of that leads to this immense love of Divinely Presence, can it only be found or opened by our wave reality and actions, practices that bring our wave reality out?
Versus finding a little cupboard in the closet and walking through it? Through your physical? So no, everything has to be through the spiritual. So there's not a physical location where we walk through like Narnia, you open your closet, you walk through a door and you go into another dimension. This is a spiritual path. So the discussion tonight are the people that we talk to, in which they think they're right, and they think that they'll go here and they'll pray there, and they'll get 30 people and go pray Fajr, and they'll do this and they'll do that thinking that Allah's there. If a Holy One is not there, nobody's there. So pray in all the structures you want, there will be no mirage, there will be no elevation, there will be nothing if there's not a Holy One there. And that's what's the importance, and that's what's been lost. That's why tariqah and Islam 75 years and back was manners, akhlaq. They were all focused on akhlaq. Why? To tell every child that wherever you go you may meet Sayyidina Khidr, you may meet these rijal and these holy people, keep your manners. So they would enter into a masjid, they would find the old people, they would give them salams and look into their face salam, because this is what the akhlaq and their schools were teaching them. So that if there was a Holy One you were fortunate to give them a greeting, then anything you prayed in that mosque you would be, the du'a would be accepted, because the house of Allah is right there. They took that away, and in our travels with Mawlana the young would come and try to cut him out from being the imam, and the boy didn't even have a beard, and he had a beard this long, and the people would fight and say, why are you going in front of the shaykh? He has to pray, he meets all of the sharia and the sunnah of the salah. Means the world changed into which they didn't teach manners and they taught aggression in Islam, challenge and debate, and there is no debate in Islam, there's no challenging in Islam. It's just the manners of bad dogs that are showing, and Allah knows what He does with bad dogs. But the tariqah in its reality was based on manners, teaching good manners, teaching good akhlaq and character. So that only through humility that people would be humble and they would find these houses of Allah. And as the people become worse and worse and worse, what happens to the house of Allah? It becomes hidden. And they pray less in front of people, they definitely don't go to masjids because of the harshness, the badness of the talk, the political nature of something talking. Imagine the servants whom they're the house of Allah, how they can sit in a khutbah of political yelling and screaming. The heart has agitation. Servants of the heart, they understand that if you raise your voice a little bit, you're the subject of what you talk is agitating, their heart is agitating. They get nervous, they have like a panic in their heart and they have to retreat because their heart is very subtle, they pick up all vibrations. So these servants, you think they're now in all of these crazy associations around the earth, or they're all hidden now? Where before again 75 years ago any masjid you went in there was salawats, there was durood al-sharif, there was all the beatific recitations and good character. You would find many houses of Allah inside one masjid. So this was the reality, this is the reality, and the houses of Allah begin to retreat and they take themselves to where it's safe, where it's good, where they can control the manners of people. So that to control their heart not to go into fluctuations, because they are very vigilant over their heart. They don't want to damage, to lose the house of Allah within themselves. So they for their own safety have to retreat. But the external people are fixated on structures. If you don't believe me, watch a YouTube of the Kaaba. The same people whom have disrespect for Prophet they're rubbing themselves on the khiswa, they're rubbing themselves on the stone, they're kissing the location of the Sayyidina Ibrahim's footprints in castor, in a concrete. Why all that? But for the physical body of Sayyidina Muhammad they're rude. They turn their back, just like what we recited in last month. We're asked them to ask for your forgiveness, but they'll turn their back in arrogance. So it means that this is a symbol of idolatry has entered now, in which they lost the fact that the heart of the servant in which Allah created is the house of Allah, and that which you made from your hands you're not supposed to be bowing down and thinking Allah's in it. So that's pretty deep for most people because they can't fathom it. That you build something and in your arrogance you say, this is a house of Allah, and your only interest is to be the president on the board of it. And if there's 10 of you, you'll build 10 of them because no 10 people want to get and sit with each other. But the importance of that house of Allah is if there's really a servant of Allah residing there. And is there a servant of Allah praying in that masjid, that will make it to be the house of Allah. But that becomes more and more extinct, where people just gather to think that they're making a house for Allah, to glorify their nafs and their egos, to call themselves president, vice president and chairman of the board. But does Allah have a servant in that house? Most likely no. That becomes the difficulty, and that's why you see them to be empty and hollow. But the depth of tariqah realities, and it doesn't matter, they do what they want, it doesn't matter to us. But for tariqah they're teaching to us there is a secret doorway, and this doorway has to do with the heart. Keep the manners, keep the character, as soon as you have that presence your soul will lock with them. And the whole time it's locked with them, try to hold tight, because your nafs will do everything to break away from it. Your nafs will give you every type of logic, every type of understanding for what? To break the bond so that you don't enter deeper into that reality. That becomes the struggle of the last days. That's why people break off, because the nafs just bit so much, so much, so much that they walk away from that reality. And then they go back to the structure worshipping. They find themselves back in a masjid gathering, and Allah knows what their purpose and what their actions are, because the nafs and shaitans love those. They go there, they argue, they have political discussions, they have political talks, and you find shaitan and the nafs feeling those. But those whom want to enter into the hearts of Allah's servants, they're far and few between, inshaAllah.
As-salamu alaykum Sayyidi.
Wa alaykum salam wa rahmatullah.
Sayyidi, if Allah resides in the qalb, then why do we have to visit the Kaaba once in a lifetime?
Because that's what we just explained the whole thing. I know that the questions come before the talk, but I think if the person who asked that got the answer from it, is that you visit the Kaaba. That's why you need the 2 books on the reality of the Hajj. Whoever asked your question, you have to get 2 books, one for you, one for a friend, because that was the reality of the understanding of the Hajj book, is that it can't be the bricks and stones I'm going for. So what gave the Kaaba honour? The soul of Prophet is inside there. If Prophet's soul is inside the Kaaba, who else is there? You think any of his companions left him? They absolutely not. Nabiyeen, Siddiqeen, Shuhada wa Saliheen, all 124,000 companions, all 124,000 Prophets are accompanying Sayyidina Muhammad, all 124,000 awliya who are inheriting from holy companions, their souls are inside the Kaaba. And Allah, His qudra and power is in the heart of Prophet. And then Prophet's light makes tawaf around Allah, and all the other souls by the gravitational pull of Prophet they're spinning. So don't you see that in science? The sun, Shams, it has such a powerful gravitational pull. We talked the other night, 11 planets are moving by the power of the sun. Who's moving the sun? Same analogy, Allah's power is moving that. But the sun is a symbol of light that's so powerful that it controls 11 planets and their orbit and spins them with all the billions and trillions of creation upon every planet. How many billions and trillions of creatures are on this earth, and it's spinning by the power of that sun, keeping it within its orbit. Allah describes the planet is on like tracks. Who's moving those tracks? The sun is. Gravity is love, it's bound by it and moving it. And Allah says, I show you the signs outside and I show you signs inside. It's anyone who looks at the outside can understand, oh, the sun on our earth is the Kaaba. The haqqaiq of that sun on this earth is the Kaaba, is the presence of Prophet. And because those souls are there, Allah inspires everyone, go make tawaf around there, it's tabarak and blessing for you. And if you're really clever and sincere, Allah sends you to Madinatul Munawwarah in the presence of Sayyidina Muhammad, which is a Divinely light and Divinely presence, and that becomes the whole mystery. That Allah is a hidden treasure. Just because you went to Kaaba didn't mean you found the treasure, but you had to have been taught by the shaykhs. And Allah is a treasure, you have to keep seeking it out. You didn't find Allah, you merely accepted Allah. until you seek and you seek and you seek and you begin to find Allah. When you love Sayyidina Muhammad what happens? How are people so mesmerized by the love of Prophet? They found Allah. As they draw near to Sayyidina Muhammad they draw near to the immensity of Allah's love and generosity because He's the hidden treasure within what you sought out. If that treasure begins to dress you and bless you and that everything that comes to your heart is being bestowed upon you because you're drawing near to Prophet, you understood now how to get the treasure. This is now inheritable. So then the clever one says, if this worked to get the blessings of Allah, well how are you going to get the blessings of Sayyidina Muhammad? Draw near to his family. As soon as you draw near to his family, it's the same gift that Prophet said, now I'm happy with you. You found me in them. This love that you have for this Ahlul Bayt, Imam al-Husayn Sayyidina Abbas, Sayyidina Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq, all the Ahlul Bayt. Who did you find in that love? Minhu wa minhum. That I'm a hidden treasure within them, you found Sayyidina Muhammad's love and his immense love, that he's so happy with the love that you have for them and begin to bestow upon you as like how Allah was bestowing. Means this becomes the faiz, the barakah and the blessings, and that becomes the reality. As we love the holy companions, Prophet is dressing us and blessing us, said, you found me in my family, you found me in my companions. And that's what we talked about from Imam Ali. What makes Imam Ali great? What makes him so immense? He said, I was carrying the light of Prophet, the madad and support of Sayyidina Muhammad dressed me, I can lift the universe with that light. So imagine then you love them, who do you find there? Sayyidina Muhammad. And this becomes the immensity of our lives. So when you want to love somebody, draw near to whom they love. When we want the love of Prophet draw near to the Ahlul Bayt. Eat with them, drink with them, learn from them, understand everything, and you've drawn near to the presence of Prophet. As you draw near to the presence of Sayyidina Muhammad you've drawn near to Allah. And every way you look at it you're blessed and you'll be dressed, and barakah and blessings dress your life for here and all of eternity inshaAllah. That's the system. And the external people don't understand it and say, why you have to bring a cake, why you have to again post about this family member, that family member, and it disturbs them. Why? Because they want to find a structure and go worship the structure. That makes sense to them, which to us doesn't make any sense. What are you doing? Where are you going to find there? If you want to find Allah, find His servant and enter their hearts. And their heart and the vastness of the heart is not something that can be understood. What's the capacity of a heart of Allah, of the heart of Allah's servant? How many souls can enter into that heart? Infinite in its number, infinite in its number. Means these realities are immense realities, but requires us to contemplate and think. How many people do we know that look for structures and think, oh they'll find a structure and Allah will be there? No. If Allah likes that structure, His servant will be there, His servants may be there. If that servant is there, that's the Kaaba of Allah. That makes everything to be holy. But if the manners are bad, the actions are bad, those servants run. And that's why in the last days they asked before, What happens in last days? The awliya are hidden because it's such a horrible energy everywhere. Everybody will retreat. Who wants to sit in a political and hostile environment, endanger their heart? InshaAllah.
As-salamu alaykum Sayyidi.
Wa alaykum salam wa rahmatullah.
Is everyone's soul an ancient soul, or are there newer souls that are on earth as well?
That we leave for Allah. How old the soul is, but the soul is ancient, there is no new. Allah created the souls in the world of souls. When that was created, that is for Divinely knowledges. So there's nothing new coming out, these are all ancient realities. The only thing that's new is the form. So the soul is an ancient reality, an ancient light. Alam al-Qur'an khalaqal insan. So in Allah's time how He partitioned the soul when He brought it from the light of Sayyidina Muhammad, partitioned those lights and gave them, you will be under this messenger, you'll be under this guidance, these awliya. Everything is ancient and written upon the reality of the soul. Physicalities are coming in daily, births and deaths. But the soul is an ancient reality and the soul is endowed with ancient realities, it's embedded with ancient realities. So our life is to retrieve those realities, and that becomes the way of the heart and meditation and contemplation. How can anyone retrieve their realities outwardly? You can't, there's nothing for you to achieve outwardly. So the only way to achieve inward is to go inside the heart and see what Allah has written upon my soul. What secrets, what realities, what treasures have all been written already, preordained upon my soul. And that becomes the waste that you came onto this earth, I endowed you with all these treasures but you have been beguiled by shaitan and you achieved none of them, retrieved none of them and came back empty into the grave. And that becomes the great loss and the great loss of opportunity that Allah said, had you done and had you followed and had you achieved, this would have been your stations in paradise. And that's why we're sent onto this abode, is to achieve our paradise reality, our paradise residence, not to achieve the residence here. So that becomes the great fooling that shaitan puts upon people, that they lose their ability to achieve what Allah had sent them here to achieve. InshaAllah.
As-salamu alaykum Shaykh.
Wa alaykum salam wa rahmatullah.
Shaykh, do we lock souls to other people's soul or only with the Shaykh's soul?
Everybody's soul is going to be entangled with everything. So we gave the talk on quantum entanglement. So everything is interconnected. But what you want to make sure that you are connected is that you have a quantum entanglement with the Shaykh. So you go back and just Google what does quantum entanglement mean. That on their science level, because we speak our spirituality but people don't accept that. On a science level they found that when these atoms interact they can entangle themselves, and as a result of becoming entangled what happens to one happens to the other regardless of space or time in its immensity of distance. That when they begin to put something on this atom the other atom is responding. So they said that is locked and they think there's some sort of a bond that they don't understand, so they called it entanglement. But we know that as the madad and the understanding of the lights and souls. So that as soon as you enter into the presence of these holy souls, into the souls of guidance, Allah describes them as fulukul mashkoon, that they're loaded ships And as soon as you enter onto their ship, your element and your atoms, your light is locked onto them and entangled into them. This is one understanding of the bayat, is that you are voluntarily entangling it by making your bayat and allegiance. Is that you're asking that, I want to have an allegiance and be entangled into your reality. And then we gave talks on the reality of bayat, that don't break it because you're pulling your soul away from them. You will rip your soul and it's an eternal ripping upon you. And that's why Allah gives on the ayat al-bayah that don't break it to the detriment of your own soul, because now you've entangled yourself voluntarily with them. Involuntary or involuntary involvement is that you merely came into their associations through video, sound, however, and they will grab a portion of your light to give guidance to it. This is involuntary entanglement, that you came across them. This is the wisdom and hikmah of Allah and nothing wasted in Allah's way, because their light is diffused everywhere, it grabs everything. And will dress and bless the person. But when you voluntarily take your initiation, is that you're locking and tying yourself. What we call bande khudam, I'm a tied servant to my Lord, and that's why it's Naqshband, right? The Naqsh that wrote this bond of an eternal bond. So bandeh and bond and to be tied is all these haqqaiqs of entanglement, that I'm God's bondsman, that I've been tied and tied down to that reality. And this is an ancient reality, to be tied to Allah's service. So this is just something now that the science comes out to give people guidance in the last days, that look, the scientists whom you think are so on top of everything, they're also agreeing that in the world of light everything is mixing and locking. So why not lock with good things? You hang out with bad people, you're going to have quantum entanglement in a really bad way, right? So whatever difficulty comes to that person, you're entangled to them, and now difficulty coming to you. And that's why then we become vigilant of who we're with, why are we with them. I don't want to be entangled in their burdens, I want to be entangled in the burdens of good people, so that they can help me through difficulties. So it's very real. And as the science gets closer to these haqqaiqs and realities, this is a guidance for the last days, that Allah said, where are you going to hide? You say you're a science person, look, He's talking to you from sciences, so accept it. That it's all has its own evidence now, especially the world of sight, the light and sounds. Everything is based on light and sound. If people don't talk in reference to light and sound, a great level of knowledge will be lost because of the times that we're in. Everything is relevant now to light and sound, inshaAllah.
As-salamu alaykum Sayyidi.
Wa alaykum salam wa rahmatullah.
Sayyidi, what's the connection between parasites or stomach illness and spiritual attacks?
I think everything has some sort of a connection. That's why we ask people, go back and understand what parasites are. What are these creatures that can come in and affect you? And that's an important understanding, that's something that people don't see. They enter into the body and then begin to affect the character, the physicality, the health, everything. So everything internal has an effect on our external. So then that has everything to do with spiritual energies and lights. What you eat, the herbs that you take to sort of cleanse your stomach from parasites, and all of these things they have a big reality. And the energies, the zikr, all of the practices are the sound vibrations that destroy much of this. Much of these elements that enter into the physicality, they're destroyed by zikr and by salawats. And that's why the shaitans, they don't like zikr, they don't like the associations of zikr, so that they can infuse with people. So the element of the energy that is in the zikr, the salawats, the association are very heated energies. You sit in it and you start heating up yourself. So it means any type of negative energy is also under duress and under the force of these tajallis, inshaAllah.
As-salamu alaykum Sayyidi.
Wa alaykum salam rahmatullah.
Sayyidi, do we have an entirely separate reality in the malakut? If we aren't progressing as quickly as we would like, could our light reality be growing?
Yeah, this is an assumption that you understand your growth. So we don't see the growth of our light, we don't see the reality that's dressed upon the soul. So how would we know what's growing or what is it growing, how is it growing? People only see their physicality. Physicality has absolutely nothing to do with the reality of your soul. What Allah and what treasures Allah is putting upon your soul when you pray, when you wash, when you fast, when you read Qur'an, when you do your durood, you do your salawats, you do your awrads, you do the zikrs, you follow the guidance. These are medallions and lights, but out of the 1% that follow tariqah, 99% of them are blind because they're not accepting to meditate and contemplate. So why do people and why are people being inspired to meditate and contemplate? They have to see what's happening. Because the more you meditate and you become encouraged by these lights, these energies, this way, you become stronger and you have a himmah. And when you don't meditate and contemplate, you say, there's nothing happened to me, and then you say, oh it's just I'm gonna go, it's too difficult, there's nothing happening to me. No, it's wrong. Everything's happening but you're not mature enough to accept the deposit or to receive the deposit. It has to be deposited in trust. So it's not something that you can withdraw when you haven't received your trust from Allah. So everything has to be deposited upon the soul, and then you meditate and then you begin to understand there's so much blessings, there's so much energy, there's so much connection into the heavenly realm. And alhamdulillah, I took a path in which to be nothing, more energy comes, nothing, more energy comes, until the day that Allah wants to reveal what is bestowed upon the soul, and that usually in the grave. But before the grave, with these difficulties that are coming, then maybe during great wars and difficulties Allah will begin to open the trust, so that to battle the Dajjal and the Dajjal realities. So we live in a time which is feasibly a time in which Dajjal will appear and has appeared, and that these difficulties will begin to open, and Allah will begin to open the trust of the believers. And they not need to keep it for the grave, but they'll be using it in dunya. That's why then the encouraging that connect your heart, something's about to come. So as a connection you feel the energy, you feel the faiz, and that you feel your hand is on the hand of Sayyidina Muhammad is the only way to receive this qudra and this power. So it's more essential than any other time in history, is through days of difficulty. With the advent of their things that are opening, inshaAllah.
As-salamu alaykum Sayyidi.
Wa alaykum salam rahmatullah.
Sayyidi, what is the best way to increase himmah if certain meds decrease the natural himmah?
Yeah, it's the salawats, the diet and whatever you can do, whatever medicines people are having to take, then you try to compensate with the diet, with exercise, and to make your salawats. Allah knows the condition that He puts upon His servants, so you can't do more than what Allah has written. But many people can reduce the effects of the medicines because they have to take the medicine, but they can reduce the side effects with nutrition, with exercise and with their spiritual practices, which are most important is the durood sharif and the salawats to give the energy, inshaAllah.
As-salamu alaykum Sayyidi.
Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifoon wa salaamun al mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen bi hurmati Muhammad al-Mustafa abasir Surat al-Fatiha. As-salamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Shaykh Nurjan. Thank you for watching the video that you're watching. InshaAllah, if you're happy with the content and happy with these programs, please support the button below, the programs that we have for our orphanage repairs, our water well, Give the Gift of Life, our mobile food vans. We have now 5 vans: Vancouver, Chicago, Los Angeles, Pakistan. There's many programs that reach thousands of people and rescue foods and give those supplies to people in need. Your support is greatly appreciated. Also, be so kind as to leave loving comments and please share the stream. Every bit counts. As-salamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.